this video, I'm going to teach you how to add elements in PowerPoint to an elevation that's rendered by hand over an AutoCAD drawing. So what you're seeing here is just a simple empty PowerPoint template, and I have imported JPEGs of two sheets. Now, these sheets were created in AutoCAD. We've got a floor plan on the right and an elevation on the left. Actually, this one's a section, but we're going to turn it into an elevation in a moment. And these two drawings were created in AutoCAD, and then the sheets were exported as a PDF. Then I printed the PDF page onto 8.5 by 11 vellum. And then I got out my rendering markers and my black fine tip pen and my white colored pencil, and I rendered color and texture and highlights and shade and shadow on this image. And then after that, I scanned the image as a JPEG and I inserted it into this PowerPoint presentation. Now, this is a really simple way of annotating drawings using just AutoCAD, your hand rendering skills, and PowerPoint. And this is a really useful skill in case maybe you don't have access to really sophisticated software at the design firm that where you end up being employed, but you still want a really professional looking drawing with all the clarity of information there. So I'm going to demonstrate this on this drawing on the left-hand side, although the process is very similar if you're going to be doing this to a floor plan as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and delete this floor plan for now so it's not in our way. Then I'm going to begin by cropping this image. Now, right now this image is a section drawing because it's cutting through and showing walls, but we are doing interior elevation. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to crop the wall sections out. So it's pretty small here. I'm going to stretch it out so we can see a little bit more detail. And I'm going to crop again. And I'm trying to get it to a point where I can still see the black outline where the room starts and stops. And that's really helpful for my viewer. And so you can see here, I got to come down just a little bit more over here. And there we go. Okay, so we've got our drawing ready now. I'm going to come down just a little bit more and show some more ground line right there. My ground line's not very thick. Okay, so we've got our elevation drawing here. Now, what we need to add, if we were going to put this on in a presentation for one of our focus areas, we need to make sure that we have a title, scale, the elevation tag that corresponds to the tag on the floor plan, notes, and a scale figure. Now, the scale figure, I'm going to start at the end here. The scale figure, you can just draw in manually by hand. Now, my elevation should have it, but it doesn't. So all you need to do is just bring in a very simple scale figure. You can draw it before you render everything else. You can draw it on top and just kind of a light gray marker silhouette over it would look absolutely beautiful. They're very, very subtle, but very important. So make sure you've got a scale figure drawn here before you actually do the scanning of the hand render drawing. The next thing we need to do is we're going to add the title and scale in the tag. Now for this one, you can create the title and the elevation tag and the scale in PowerPoint. You can insert shapes here, and you can create circles and lines and little text boxes and things like that. Or you can go to your AutoCAD drawing. Now remember that this is our CAD standards template, and so there's all sorts of elements here that we can use. You can see your elevation tags are here. These are the ones that should appear on your floor plan, which we'll talk about in another video. But we also need to have the tags here correspond to the title on our elevation drawings. And you can see that over here. If we hop on over to this sheet, you can see here, this is the construction document page where elevations would be. But because we're creating them as a presentation drawing, we're not going to be presenting them in this way. But what we do have here is a tag that we can use. Now notice here, it may not come in with these exact drawing, this drawing information on it, but all you have to do is double click and change the different elements here. So mine's going to be the first drawing. on my presentation page. So that one can stay right there. I've changed the drawing title here from, I think it was a bedroom elevation, and I changed it to a dining room elevation, and I changed the scale from 1/2 inch to not to scale, and I just overwrote it right here. So then I hit OK, and this one's ready to go. So I'm going to just copy, just one click here, and then a cross window here. We're going to do Control C for copy. We're going to go over to our AutoCAD drawing, and we're going to hit, our PowerPoint file, and Control V for paste. And there's our label right there. We're going to bring it down. And because this drawing is really big, our drawing label appears pretty small. So I'm going to get it about a little bit smaller over there. I'm going to bring my title over here. And I'll stretch it out just a little bit more. We want to try to get the label and the line underneath it to align with the right edge of our drawing. So it's going to take a little tweaking and a little adjustment, but we've got our drawing there and we've got our label there as well. Now, a lot of the elements in this elevation are pretty clear. We can tell what they are, but there may be some elements that we want to call out specifically to our clients. Let's say we want to talk a little bit about the finishes here. So for this, we can just do really simple lines and text boxes. Now, just remember, if we did this in Photoshop or InDesign, we could also create lines and labels and text boxes as well. But remember that access to all of those Adobe programs may not be available to you. So this is a really simple way of doing it. So I'm going to go over to Insert, Shapes. You can do the lines or the arrows. The lines are a little bit more in line with graphic standards and they'll allow a little bit more clarity. So I'm going to grab this line here. And usually when I draw a line, I just click it, it appears. So I want to change it to black instead of blue. And I want to adjust the ends of it here so that it's pointing to the object I'm referring to. Now, I want to make sure my leader lines are as short as possible, once again, because I really want as little lines and distracting information as possible. So instead of having a leader line that goes all the way over here and all the way over here with notes, we want to get it really condensed and really tight up against that drawing. So we've got that leader line there. Now I'm going to insert a text box. And I'm going to adjust the font here. I could do this, nice sans serif font, very simple font. I don't want anything to distract. And I'm going to make it 10-point font, and I'm going to put all capital letters, remember. Now, painted drywall is enough if you wanted to, and in the professional world, we would put something like a color, Benjamin Moore, number 1236, and then maybe that's dove gray. So whatever you select, you can put it there to give it a little bit more detail if you want. We also can go ahead and copy this. If we've got a few notes that we want to bring in, we can do copy, and then I'm holding my Control button. So we do Control C and then Control V, and then all of our settings are already set in as far as the leader line size, the color, and the font. So here, let's say I wanted to talk about this one, perhaps is painted wood. What are those called? Batten. This is called board and batten behind there. So painted wood batten. Maybe the color is Benjamin Moore, and instead of 1236, it's 10 or 1106, and this one is right. So you can do that. You can add as many notes as you want. We just want to make sure that they don't overlap, that there's a little bit of space in between them here so that they're easy to read. If you want to make the text boxes a little bit smaller so they're tighter up against, you can just make sure that we add that little space below so that it's easy to differentiate the notes. We want to also make sure that the leader lines themselves are crisscross over each other. And that is how you add the title, the scale, the elevation tag, and notes to an elevation that's been rendered by hand over AutoCAD with PowerPoint elements. And just don't forget to put that scale figure in.